What's good, YouTube? It's me, your boy Squid, back in another Squidio. Let's do another Squid Watch. In fact, these are some cards that you guys should pick up in time for Agov, because we are going to get a lot of support and a lot of things that might drive these cards up in demand, which means profit if you guys capitalize on this. Now, I'm not saying I'm absolutely certain, but this is just an educated guess, so you guys can kind of take it at your discretion. Now, one thing I am actually certain about is that these cards, the first cards that we're going to take a look at, are actually going to go up in demand, and that is the TISTINA cards. We talked about this in the previous videos, guys. TISTINA cards are going to be in demand. For what reason? Well, they're only like a couple dollars right now each, so they're really cheap. But for the reason being that we're going to get spoilers in the next 2 to 2.5 weeks. Okay, guys? The set drops on October 20th, and we're already nearing the 1st of October, which means that the YouTubers are going to be getting the content from Konami, are going to get boxes to be opening, and we're going to get leaks for the TISTINA cards. And if you guys remember what happened for the previous TCG archetypes, TCG exclusives like Gold Pride, even though the deck wasn't that great, the hype just drove the old cards up. All of a sudden, cards that were like $1 or $2, like Gold Pride Leon, shot up to $15, $20, and then went back and settled around $8 to $10. Okay, so I'm saying TISTINA has the legacy has the potential to be a good deck, right? We're getting a lot of TCG exclusive decks that seem to be falling in the tier 3 to tier 2, around that area. These decks are all playable. None of these decks have been absolute trash in the past couple of sets. We've had Libromancers, we've had Gold Pride. Like, these cards have all been decently good, and I think TISTINA are heading in that direction as well. There's no reason to make these cards as intricate as they seem currently, with the wall of text, wall of effects that are very oddly specific and strange, requiring, certain cards, requiring the TISTINA Crystal God to be in play. So I feel like these cards will actually be decently playable. And even if they are not, the minute we get the new wave spoiled, that's still going to drive up hype. So these cards will go up in price. So if you have a chance to get these QCRs, or if you're a budget player like myself, then you can just get the normal rarities, which are like a couple of dollars each, before it's too late. This is the last chance to do it, guys. So make sure you pick up your TISTINA cards while you still can. Now, next card that I think you guys should definitely pick up, because it could be in demand, and that's actually the Evil Eye archetype. So these cards have actually been reprinted, that's a disclaimer, but the original cards I think could be sought after, because they were actually in a side set, and we all know the story with side set cards like Necros cards, the OGs were always sought after. Now, specifically Evil Eye, because this deck actually topped in the OCG with a mixture of the Horus cards. And the Horus engine actually is really cool, because with the Evil Eye archetype, you have a lot of cards that can actually resolve themselves from the graveyard and resurrect themselves back on the table, so you're effectively getting free value by discarding certain cards and putting them in the graveyard. For example, Basilatris, Familiar of the Evil Eye, can actually come back from the graveyard as a quick effect while you control an Evil Eye monster. It's really neat that this is a free discard for the Sarcophagus or Pharnax Sarcophagus. Dump some Horus monsters into the graveyard, so you have ways to link off into the Evil Eye link monsters, or just use them to overlay for powerful rank 8 monsters for basically free, which is really neat. And again, this deck did actually top in the OCG, I think, a sizable regional tournament. So if TCG players realize, hey, this is a viable strategy that we can actually combine with the Horus cards, then potentially these older cards could go up in price. And they're only a couple of dollars right now, so this is probably the moment to pick them up while you still can, especially for secret rare copies of the Field Spell and Cersio, which is about $3 or $4 last I checked. If you guys are looking for a cool, fun rogue deck, this could definitely be an option to playtest as well. Moving on is the Pendulum cards, Supreme King Dragon Darkworm and his buddies, like potentially Supreme King Zark as well. These cards in the secret rare printings are only a couple dollars each. Now, why these cards? Well, we're actually getting support for Zark in the form of some spells and monsters. We're getting a Searcher Rhoda, the Lightwing Dragon, that allows you to add a Supreme King Darkworm from your deck directly to your hand. This is really crazy, because searching that card previously was not possible beyond something like Shrine of the Dragons or Foolish Burial, which puts it in the grave. But now we can add it to our hand, ditch it for something like a Pendulum Call and Magicians, and then still get that free value afterwards. So it's a lot better in our hand for that specific purpose. We're also getting some other cards like Supreme King Gate Magician. There's a plethora of support for Pendulums and Supreme King monsters specifically. So I think these cards might actually see some demand. This deck actually did top. We're also getting Exceed the Pendulum, which is another pendulum form evolution of Beyond the Pendulum. That's a Link 3 that does a lot for the deck. But this deck, again, did top in a OCG regional tournament in China about I think like 300 or 400 players. So this could be something to pick up. This deck could actually see some play. Now I know we don't have the best Link monster, which is Electromite, unfortunately, but the deck could still see some marginal play because Darkworm is actually at 3 over here, whereas he's only at 1 in the OCG. So these are some things to keep note of. I definitely think that these older printings could go up in price, especially for the higher rarities. So if you guys have some budget to spend, then definitely consider the Darkworm, the Supreme King Pendulum stuff. Moving on is actually the Nouvelles. We are getting some Nouvelle support, believe it or not, and it's actually quite good in Agov. We're getting a Poisonnaire de Nouvelle, which is the girl on the fish recipe spell card, and she actually allows you to search in a recipe or a level 1 ritual monster from your deck when she's summoned. She can be summoned for free by scaling her in the pendulum and changing the battle position of a monster, which is really, really unique. We are also getting a quick play spell card, which allows you to summon a monster to your side of the field as well as your opponent, so you can set up pendulum scales for free, and also summon that previously aforementioned chef that allows you to add a card from your deck to your hand. So there's a lot of stuff that we're getting for this deck, even though I know you guys are thinking, oh, we have Dimensional Barrier, well, this deck's not going to be good. But again, the hype is what drives prices up. It's not about a deck's playability. The moment a deck has some hype because it's marginally playable, because it's covered by like a Yugioh or people who happen to run it at a regionals and do relatively well, then guess what? Everyone starts buying these cards out. And the nice thing about Nouvelles is they're mega cheap right now. They're a couple of dollars each. The most expensive card is currently Nouvelles Restaurant, the field spell in CR form, which is about 20 to 30 last I checked. But if you're going for a budget option, you can get the ultra rare, which is like $3 or $4. This is definitely a fun deck, and I'm just so enthralled with like tasty decks, you know, like restaurant decks, sushi decks. And you guys saw the sushi recipe that player from YCS Vancouver, the cosplay, that was absolutely amazing. Forbes Coup, check out his channel, by the way. But yeah, he's probably going to play this deck, so I think it's going to be absolutely something you guys want to hype up and pick up while you still can. And then the last couple of cards we will go over. Number 1 is Discord. This is an anti-synchro summoning card, meaning that you can actually run up to 6 copies of Dimensional Barrier if you choose to. This is just really, really cool because this is an ancient card that only has 2 printings, 1 in Dual Terminal, which is not really a reprint set, and 1 in Super Rare in Ancient Prophecy. So this could be an option to pick up. They're only a couple of cents each. So in my mind, this could definitely be relevant, especially against a Synchro summoning deck. If Synchro deck ever gets good and Dimensional Barrier is not around to bail us out, then this is definitely something we can consider on top of Dimensional Barrier. And then the last card is actually Synchro Control, which is another card that I previously had in my repertoire in the back of my head as a card that could be decent against Synchro decks. It's a quick play spell card that's effectively a change of heart for Synchro monsters that you activate by paying 1,000 life points while you control no Synchro monsters on your field or in your graveyard. But it's a quick play, meaning you can use it going first or second. Going first, you can disrupt your opponent by stealing something. Going second, you can use it to take control of something, and you actually take control of the second monster until the end phase of your turn. So if you take control on their turn, you actually get it on your following turn as well, which is really nice. Obviously, there's some crossover. There's things like Baron de Fleur. If you can bait it out, you can steal it, use the effect, pop something, and then you're off to the races, right? So this is just something I find that could come up based on what happened with the marketplace with Tuner Scheme. People are buying out arbitrary bad Synchro cards, anti-Synchro cards. So maybe Discord and Synchro Control are definitely up your alley if that's something you want to take a look at and invest in. That's about it for all the cards that I think might go up, at least for this current week. If I come up with new stuff, I'll definitely let you know in another Squidio. If you guys have any ideas for me, definitely let us know in the comments below. Other cards that might go up in price that might be desirable that we should get before they go up, so we can get them at a fair price before they get jacked up in the market price. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.